What's going on, guys? Darryl Bryan here. We're about 2 weeks removed now from New York Comic Con, and I gotta say, I'm still on a natural high. I mean, I had a freaking blast. I was there from Thursday to Sunday. I was there all 4 days, and I was there from open to close. I mean, I was there even before it opened, just to make sure I was one of the first dudes through the door. I got close to, if I had to guess, close to 200 comic books, maybe even more signed. I got a couple of free sketches from some top artists. I got a couple of commissions. I just want to take some time to just share my experience and show you some of the things I was able to get. Of course, I can't show you everything, but just some of the highlights. And just kind of just share my experience with you. This is my homie Diggle. He might be popping in and out. I posted a video reviewing Fan Expo Canada maybe 2.5 weeks ago, a couple days before New York Comic Con. And ours, Bill McKay, said he watched the whole video and he was like, I wanted to see your dog. So I think I cut him off in the last video. But yeah, Bill, if you're watching, that's my homie Diggle. But yeah, so speaking of Fan Expo, it was only six weeks before New York Comic Con, and I will admit that every artist that I met at Fan Expo was going to be at New York Comic Con. So why did I go to Fan Expo when it was so close to New York Comic Con? Well, two main reasons. I've been to New York Comic Con before, 2014, 2016 I've been. And each time I was not able to meet my favorite artists. And I learned the hard way. New York Comic Con, and I'm assuming bigger cons like San Diego Comic Con, MegaCon, and maybe like East Coast Comic Con in Seattle, they require you to get a bracelet or a wristband in order to meet some of the A-list artists because their lines are going to be ridiculous. So they got to limit it, and so it makes sense. So for me, my goal was to meet Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane. And I knew if I waited for just New York Comic Con, it was going to be a give or take situation. I could only meet one or the other on certain days. If I met one day, then there's no way I'd be able to get in line to get the other wristband for the other guy. So when I learned about Fan Expo and I saw that Jim Lee was like the spotlight artist that was going to be there, did a little research, and fortunately for me, living in Central Jersey, it was not expensive to fly out there. And what helped even more was I had a friend that lived there in downtown Toronto, so she let me stay at her place. Worked out perfectly. And if you saw my video, I accomplished my goal. I met Jim Lee, and I got 16 comic books signed from him. And my other goal was to meet Dan Mendoza, who I admit I've met 2 times before at the 2 other New York cons that I just mentioned. But he is a freaking awesome artist. Every time he puts something out, I'm just blown away. Whether it's some post on his Instagram from a commission or a new cover for his new comic book or comic books, I'm just mesmerized. I stare at every single line. I'm wow, this is beautiful. Both of them being there was for me, I gotta go. And on top of that was a bunch of other artists I want to see too, like Greg Capullo, Scott Snyder, a writer, he's awesome. We got to meet them, and a bunch of other artists too, Eric Larson. So yeah, complete success. So for me at New York Comic Con for this year was again to meet Dan Mendoza, which was another success. He signed 25 books at Toronto. He signed maybe another 30, maybe even close to 40 comic books for me, and I got another 2 commissions from him from New York Comic Con. So in that regard, that was a success. But also Todd McFarlane was a complete success. But his was a lot harder of a task. So like I said, I had to get there before it even opened, because if I wanted to guarantee a bracelet from him, I I had to get there at like 7:30 in the morning, and like I said, I live in Central Jersey. It's not close to New York City. It's a 45-minute train ride, so I had to get up at like 5:30 in the morning. I had to catch a train at like 6-ish, 6:15-ish, get into the city by like 7, walk to the Javits Center, which is about a 15 to 20-minute walk, and get online at 7:30. And I did for all 3 days that Todd was there, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and my plan worked. I got I think 10 comic books signed, and I got a sketch, and he doesn't do sketches. And I was able to get a sketch. So I just want to kind of like go through my experience. I'm going to use my TV I have connected to my MacBook to kind of like show you a couple of things, and then I'll go through my score. I hope this is a good way to like share my experience of New York Comic Con with you guys. So here's my MacBook, which is connected to the TV. So like I said, I would get online just to make sure I was one of the first people through the door, because seriously, this is the line at 9:15 on Saturday. Comic-Con opens at 10 a.m. This is what it looks like at 9:15. Here, let me play this for you so you can see what the line is like 45 minutes before the doors even open. So that is what the line is like. They put you in this massive hall, and as you can see, it was totally filled. But like I said, I stuck to my strategy, and I was able to get 10 autographs from Todd. He freaking recognized me because I went to his panel too. And he's talking about awesome stuff, his days at Marvel, what it was like to start Image Comics, how he was like the ringleader and recruited everybody pretty much to leave Marvel and start Image Comics. And I actually recorded that whole thing on my iPhone, so I have it on YouTube. Maybe I'll post a link to it underneath. But yeah, check it out, man. I got, this is the first one I got signed from him because Spider-Man 1. This is, what really hooked me into comic books was this series, Spider-Man 1. And then, of course, I had to get Spawn, signed because that's his character. And I love Spawn. I can't wait for his new movie. That's another thing he talked about. There's a new movie coming out. I'm sued for that. Boom. Got his Batman. Look how old this is. It was 75 cents cover price, but that cover is beautiful. He's the creator of Venom. So I got that signed. This is the first cover that Venom was on. I love this cover. Wolverine with the Incredible Hulk and the reflection of his claws. I just picked my favorite covers of Todd McFarlane and got him signed. Oh, and what was also cool was Saturday, this helped. So you're only allowed one comic per wristband. So this was Thursday. I was able to sneak and get a second wristband on Thursday, but I took off my hat, took off this shirt, and I just had my long sleeve shirt underneath just to make it look like I was a different person. And fortunately, I was able to. They didn't recognize me, so they gave me a second bracelet. That didn't work the second and third day though, so I was only able to get. So these two I got on Thursday. Friday I got this one. Saturday morning was this one, and then Saturday afternoon at like 5 o'clock was a gold mine for Todd McFarlane signatures because. That was a VIP signing, and you had to like win a lottery. Fortunately, I did win to get invited because out of all the lotteries there were, the only one I cared about was Todd McFarlane, and I fortunately won, thank God. But other people won through a different way. The day of the convention, you could scan your badge at this one booth and you win these random prizes, and a lot of people won to go to that signing, but the ticket said don't bring anything, something will be assigned to you. So when they got there, they found out that that was not the case at all. And a lot of them there weren't diehard Todd fans. They just went there because they won something. They're like, all right, I'm gonna go. So when they found out nothing was gonna be signed, they were like, oh, I'll just make them sign my New York Comic Con badge or the ticket that they won. One guy even pulled out a $20 bill and had him sign that. But because of that, because of those people that just kind of weren't fans, but they won something, so they just went anyway. I was just talking to them online, and they were all like, "Oh, you have extra comic books? I'll get it signed for you. You know, we're allowed 2 signatures. I'm just gonna have him sign my badge, so I'll make him sign a comic book for you." And I was like, "Oh my God, you guys are awesome!" So I was able to get all these signed. Again, you know, I just chose my favorite covers. I wish I had brought more because there was more people offering, and I didn't have enough comic books, so that was a friggin' gold mine. I showed you these already. I got these also. I'm so happy I got all versions of these. And I got a sketch from Todd. Hell yeah. Boom. He wasn't doing sketches, but what I did was I was the first person online for the VIP signing. After he signed my comic books, I went back to the very end of the line. And, you know, waiting online isn't that big a deal because I'm hanging out with people who love comic books and movies, and all we did was chat. So, you know, but because I was the last person online, Todd was like, "All right, what do you want?" And he recognized me. He recognized me from the panel. I was the first person to ask him a question at the panel, and all the times he kept calling me his quasi stalker. So, you know, I thought that was cool. And so he did this Spider-Man sketch and this Spawn sketch, and that's his thing. He's known for Spider-Man and Spawn. So I think this is so friggin' awesome. And he doesn't do sketches, so I feel really fortunate to have this. I wish I brought more comic books. Like I said, there was people offering. I wish I brought more Spawn comic books. I actually have some sketches from Greg Capullo with enough space for Todd to do something here, or just even if I get an autograph. So next year, my goal is to get him to sign these. Eric Larson sketch I got at Fan Expo. This is something else I'll show you guys later. So that's my Todd score. But yeah, before I get to everyone else, I do want to get back to Dan because that was my second goal, was to meet Dan Mendoza and at Action Labs because, again, like I said, he is his artwork is just freaking beautiful. And I was able to get 2 more commissions out of him, and he signed a bunch of my comic books. Actually, for those of you who watched the Zombie Tramp talk show, I did mention, I think it was episode 9, that my next idea for kind of like keeping my comics was a binder. So I actually did that. And of course I started my Zombie Tramp collection. So let me show you what that looks like too. I bought these binder pages off of Amazon, and I just buy these binders, normal binders from, you know, wherever. Office Max is where I got these, but you can get them anywhere. Buy the 2-inch ones, so, you know, hefty, but I think they hold like 20 comic books. So I'll just show you my Zombie Tramp collection, I guess. This I got signed in 2014. This is the first time I met Dan. I bought volume 1 and 2 hardcover, trade paperback from him. Got that card from him in 2014, but I realized he didn't sign it, so I brought it with me to Fan Expo. He signed it there. And I'll just flick through these. Most of these I got signed either at Fan Expo or this year at New York Comic Con. It's one of my favorite covers right here. So that's one binder. Oh yeah, love this cover. Love this cover. Just got this off eBay recently. Oh yeah, another one of my favorite covers, Friday the 13th, homage. But I mean, I love all of these covers. Are you kidding me? I mean, his artwork is amazing. This is Seller. He's freaking awesome too. Yep, got the San Diego Comic Con exclusives. Very beautiful cover, Fan Expo. This is the Bill McKay. And let me give you guys a close-up of my other signings. Got this sign. Again, these are either from Fan Expo or New York Comic Con this year. And check out what he did here. He wrote "Pretty girls make graves." He wrote it in because I asked him why that saying wasn't there originally. He said they forgot to put it in, so he wrote it in for me. He did the same thing here. Revenge is a dish best served dead. Bam. And then he signed my Volume 2 babies. This one he loves signing in gold. I've seen him sign other people's copies of this, and he always puts down his black marker and picks up the gold one specifically for this issue. But yeah, I got this one. This one's signed too. This one and this one. Then let me show you his commissions that I got too. Oh yeah, there's the picture right there. Oh no, that's from Fan Expo, but oh yeah, this beauty right here. But let me show you the picture. Oh, I don't know how to scroll to the next picture. It's supposed to be a thing here. I'll just show it to you. Where is it? Oh yeah, over here. Yeah, so if you're a fan of Zombie Tramp or Dollface, you're aware of the whole Ivan scandal. But let me make sure this is showing correctly. Oh yeah. There you go. Yep. So when I was chatting with him, he was talking about the whole Ivan scandal. Me and a friend of mine, he was showing us pictures of the Ivan issue that was never released. It got banned from New York Comic Con, and he had this Harley Quinn on the cover, but the name Ivan covered her face. So he was showing us pictures without the title, and I was like, oh my God, your Harley Quinn is beautiful. And I actually went with the intention of asking him to do a Harley Quinn commission because I just love the way he draws her, and this was like a new, his rendition of Harley Quinn, and I was like, that's beautiful. I was like, can you do a commission? So not only did he throw not only did he do his version of Harley Quinn, or I guess technically a cosplayer, but he threw in this missing because again, the Ivan issue was never released. So to me, this is like a continuation of that story. It was like a whole big thing the days leading up to New York Comic Con, and it's gonna continue, in the minds of all Dan Mendoza fans. But I'm glad that I was able to get a commission of his version of Harley Quinn. I love it. What's interesting is after like staring at it for such a long time, let me pull it up over here. Ivan, Dan Mendoza, band. Look at those dolls. Come on, what's going on here? Here we go. So like I said, this is the band cover, but what's interesting that I think, because I stare at his drawings all the time, he actually did a couple of his own changes. Made the buckle on her neck black, and he added a different belt. So it's pretty interesting to see the creative changes that artists do. So I thought that was cool. And then I got him to do his other character, Dollface. I already have 2 Zombie Tramp commissions from him, so I wanted to get a Dollface one, and I wanted her to be cute because to me, I love that cuteness factor that Dollface has. So it's her at a beach, and I actually asked her to ask Dan to like throw in my dog somehow. So Diggle, come here. Want to meet the crew? Up. Oh, good boy. Actually, my last review, he kind of hopped in the middle of it, and I thought he was on camera, but he wasn't. And it's funny because I was talking to Bill McKay at his booth, and he was like, "I was watching your video, man. I watched the whole thing." He's like, "I didn't get to see your dog, so here's Diggle. Say what's up, Bill, if you're out there." Damn, now you met him. So that's my score from New York Comic Con and Fan Expo from Dan. I'm gonna try and speed this up because I don't want to keep you guys too long. But I met Tony Daniel. He did a sketch for me. Bam. Free too. All these sketches are free. I met Sean Murphy, some other DC comic artist. He did this sketch. Raphael Albuquerque did this sketch. And then Scott Snyder, he's not a writer. He's not an artist, he's a writer, but it's funny. He just draws like the Batman horns, and then he just points Batman. So kind of like his version of a sketch, and then he signed it. And then this one I think is freaking beautiful. David Finch. If you guys read Cyberforce back in the day, he took over after Mark Silvestri. Started doing art duties. Now he's doing his thing at DC Comics with Batman, and this is freaking beautiful. And I can't believe it's free too. And I walked right up to him. There was no lines. Walked right up to him, started chatting with him, and actually was like, "Oh, check out what Tony Daniel did for me." I was like, "I don't know if you wanted to do something similar." He's like, "Yeah," and then I was like, "Just so you know, I'm going to stare at every single line that you draw so that I can study it." So I don't know if that put a little pressure on him, but I don't know. Regardless, I mean, it probably didn't even matter, but this is freaking beautiful. Oh, and I met J. Scott Campbell. Got these from his booth. These are freaking beautiful. As you can tell, I'm a big X-Men fan from the 90s, and he did the Jim Lee style X-Men cover. And then I also got this one. Jean Grey. So let me show you some of the comic books I got signed. Instead of digging through them all and trying to find them, I'll just go through my Instagram account just to like speed it up. I mean, you could also watch it, see it for yourself. My Instagram is Darryl_Brian. But yeah, let me start over here. So I met Scotty Young. Got him to sign this beautiful poster. Actually, I bought this poster, this print from his table. I love it. And got him to sign my 2 I Hate Fairyland trade paperbacks. I love that storyline. I highly recommend it if you haven't watched it. It's like a fairy tale story on crack. There it is. Look at it. It's like you got the mushrooms, and you know, it's very bloody, but you know, very. It could be cute at times. It could be vulgar, and I don't know. It's just an insane comic. Like I said, it's a fairy tale on crack. I love this story. I mean, I was a huge Batman the Animated Series fan. I still am, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back in the day. So this friggin' series, it's not even that old. It probably came out like last year sometime. Definitely check it out. This is a fun read. And this artist is friggin' awesome. John Samariva. This guy, Gerardo Sandoval, he is friggin' awesome. He did 4 covers for Spawn. I got him to sign all 4 of them, and they're badass covers. Yeah, here we go. J. Scott Campbell. He's actually, it's not hard to walk up to him because he has a booth in the showroom rather than an artist alley. And every time I met him, it's not a long line, or this year I just walked right up to him. He signed multiple comic books, bunch of my Gen 13 stuff, but this cover in particular, I told him was like one of my favorite covers. So I'm glad I got him to sign this. Between this year and last year, I was able to get all 5 of his Gen 13 miniseries, like the first 5 issues that started it all. Signed, and then a couple of my favorite covers. So yeah, I can't find them right now. I don't want to like go through it, but yeah. So I'm proud of these. Tony Daniel, I brought in 10 Spawn comics books for him, the 10 that he did for Spawn, and like Spawn Blood Feud. And I was telling him, yeah, I got all your F5, I got your the 10th, I got all that. I got a bunch of your Batman stuff. He's like, bring them all, man. I'll sign them all. I don't care. He's like super cool. I like that he doesn't charge. And I didn't pay for a single autograph this year, by the way. And he was like just super cool. And I like that he insisted that I bring all his comic books so that he could sign it. Oh, on top of that, I brought this in. Batman Rest in Peace. Got him to sign the cover. And first of all, he signed the inside, but on the front cover, check out what he did. In gold, he did a tombstone with the Batman logo on it, along with some bats in the moon. So I think it's freaking awesome. So on top of that sketch, he also did a sketch on my hardcover too. So I was like super happy when he did that. I love that. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this cover. Oh my God. I don't know if you've ever read the 10th, but the way he draws women is beautiful. I mean, he's up there with J. Scott Campbell, to be in my opinion. Like, just look at these two covers. Like, beautiful. I love his artwork, and I'm glad he's doing his thing at DC Comics now. Oh yeah, and I met Jim Lee too. Again, fortunately, I started off the video saying like if you want to meet like Todd and Jim at the same day, it's like freaking impossible. But so on Friday, I got my bracelet for Todd, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna try and get one for Jim Lee, and I bolted to the DC booth. And as I'm like, so this line is long as hell. I started at the beginning of the line. And I'm like, oh my God, and I'm like trying to like walk fast to get to the end of the line, and I was like, this line is not ending. And all of a sudden I hear, yo, Darryl, and I was like, oh my God. So I found two of my friends who were online. I was like, and they were like, oh, I was like, there you guys are. So fortunately, I was able to like step in with them online, and because of that, I was able to meet Jim Lee. Got him to sign. If you remember from my last video, I was like, oh, I want to get this one signed. So I was able to do it. I bought this after the con because at Fan Expo he signed this one, and these two are kind of like, are not kind of, they are matching covers. So I'm glad I got the set both signed. To me, that's a friggin' score. Superman and Batman, both by Jim Lee, facing each other in the same position. Both signed by Jim Lee. Oh yeah, and this is the other cover I got him to sign. Well, these two, you're allowed to get 3 at his signings. I don't know why Todd only allows 1, but I'm trying to get every single one of my Batman Hush comics signed because that's my all-time favorite Batman story. I probably got like 8 out of like the 12, but I have multiple covers, so I probably got like 8 out of like 14 or 15 signed. And then this cover, it's Harley Quinn, his version of Harley Quinn. As you can tell, I'm a big Harley Quinn fan. I got him to sign it too. Freaking beautiful cover. Wow. So, I don't know, I hope I'm not talking too fast. I'm just trying to get through this because I don't want to, again, take up too much of your time. But I just love this picture too, by the way. Just like him, like, yo, what's going on? I love that, like, I don't know if he actually recognized me, but I was like, I met you at Fan Expo. He's like, yeah, what's going on? So I thought that was cool that I was caught on camera. Yeah, and fortunately I was able to get this picture too because all of Todd's signings said no pictures, and at the Image Comics booth they were like super strict, but luckily this VIP sign they were not as strict, but you can see in the background over here it does say no pictures, but again, being last in line or towards the end of the line does help out. The rules start to relax, and all of a sudden sketches are being made and pictures are being taken and things like that. So that's my tip if you're trying to get a picture or a sketch, is try to be the last one online. Uh, so I had to settle for pictures like this, but still freaking cool. I'm wearing the Spider-Man shirt here. This is Thursday. I got the Spider-Man comic books on. I got Todd in the background. And then on, oh, it's not this one, the next one. Here, this was Friday. I wore my Batman shirt that matches this comic book, and I did the same kind of pose. I got Todd in the background. Yep, I showed you these already. Cool. So I think I covered as much as I could in as little time as possible. I hope you all enjoyed this review. I hope my experience allows you to have some kind of a New York Comic Con experience. I've never been to San Diego Comic Con or Chicago or Emerald City in Seattle or MegaCon. Like, I would love to go to those kinds of conventions. I see Instagram pictures, but so I thought, because not everyone can go to New York Comic Con, this would be a great way to at least get a sense of the experience of what it's like. And coming from my perspective, I feel like I did have a great experience, and I'm glad I'm able to share it with you. If you made it through this video, thank you for sticking around. I do appreciate it sincerely, and I again had a friggin' blast, and I just am happy to share my experience with you guys. And if you want to talk about some more, I am totally down. Hit me up, on whatever messaging thing you want, or just leave a comment below and let's chat, dude. Thank you guys for sticking around, and even if you watch a part of it, thanks for watching even a little bit, even though you probably wouldn't hear this message. I will see you on the flip side, guys. Take care.